age workers, just 12% of whom had access to paid leave before the pandemic. But we know nearly every single worker will need paid leave at some point in their lives, whether they're dealing with another pandemic or a personal emergency. We have to recognize that workers are people first. People who get sick, have babies, adopt children, who need care for their children when they get sick, who have parents who will age and die. They work to provide for those families, but providing for your family means, first and foremost, being able to care for that family member when they need you. Without paid leave, most people can't. They're forced to make the impossible choice of either providing for their family by going to work or leaving their job to meet that need. And nobody should have to make that choice between earning a living and providing for an urgent family need. We send new mothers back to work when they're literally still bleeding, while they have stitches and they're still healing, before they can even recognize that they have postpartum depression. We force them to leave their infants when they're just days old. They can't nurse their infant. They can't bring them to work with them. They can't bond with them. They can't even put them in a childcare or a daycare center because most require an infant to be at least 6 weeks old. Right now, many women get less time with their babies than dogs get before they are separated from their puppies. That is how we're valuing women workers right now, less than we value dogs. This issue extends far beyond new moms. New dads should also be able to have time with their new children. Parents with sick children should be able to care for them without fear of losing their job. And workers who need to move a parent to a memory care facility or take them to chemotherapy or take them to doctor's appointments or nurse them when they're in very urgent care needs. Those are choices that families are making every day. In this era of COVID, it's happening far more often. You shouldn't have to risk your job or your professional future to meet those urgent needs. Without paid leave, far too many workers have to make that very choice and either risk losing their job and having to quit or not meeting that family need. It's inhumane. Not having a paid leave program also leaves us vulnerable to future health crises. If we'd had paid leave in place before the pandemic, millions of people could have stayed home from work when they got sick, limiting the spread of COVID, or they could have stayed home with their children when they were forced to learn remotely, limiting the number of people who had lost or had to leave their jobs when a child had to stay home. I heard from one New Yorker named Amir, whose son's health and special needs were becoming significantly more complex and required his and his spouse's full-time attention around the clock for weeks. At a time of great stress, they were not only worrying about how they could best care for their son, but also how they could maintain their livelihoods. Luckily, they were able to turn to New York State's paid leave program. He told me it saved their family. They were able to focus on being good parents without harming their ability to earn a living and be good professionals. Your ability to access that kind of support should not be dependent on where you live. But right now, just 9 states and D.C. have enacted paid leave legislation, leaving far too many Americans vulnerable. The numbers prove that paid leave keeps people employed, providing stability to their families and the companies they work for. A study in the Journal of Population Economics found that women who take paid leave are 40% more likely to return to work after having a new child than those that don't take it. And in general, workers who can take paid leave return to their job up to 97% of the time. That makes paid leave a good business investment. It helps ensure that the time and money companies invest into an employee doesn't walk out the door when the employee gets sick. Furthermore, when paid leave was implemented in California, 9 out of 10 employers said that either did not change or it improved their profitability, employee productivity, and morale, and many said it decreased turnover. Major corporations already know that offering paid leave helps them attract and retain the best talent. By making this program universal, we can level the playing field and allow small businesses to compete with them and hire the best of the best. In fact, the same survey of California employers found that small businesses were actually more likely to report seeing no change or an improvement in their productivity and profitability when paid leave was implemented. So, it is not surprising to see that 70% of small business owners and operators support the creation of a national paid leave program. 70% of small business owners. State programs have also shown us that the programs are not targets for fraud. In California, 91% of employers said that they were unaware of any instances where their employees abused the state's paid leave program. And in a study of New Jersey employers, none were aware of any instances of employees abusing the state's paid leave program. Creating a national paid leave program makes economic sense. Every year that we go without paid leave costs American workers and their families $22.6 billion in lost wages. That's $22.6 billion that could be going back into the economy, helping families get groceries, pay bills, buy homes, start families, live their lives. And it's estimated that the mass exodus of women from the workforce during COVID could have long-term costs as high as $64.5 billion in lost wages and economic activity every single year. We can stem those losses now if we take action. I would also like to note for those who are worried about the price tag of this bill that paid leave was included in the House version of the bill, which CBO found essentially pays for itself. There is a reason every industrialized nation in the world has this kind of system. It has paid leave because it works. Most of them offer far more leave than this bill would, and their economies are proof that it's net positive. We cannot be a global economic leader when we are not even in the game. Beyond all of that, this is what the American people, the people who send us here, actually want. 70% of all voters support paid leave, including 81% of Democrats and 58% of Republicans have said that paid family and medical leave should be included in this reconciliation bill. This is an up-to-date survey. The bill is designed to help the American people, and this is what they're actually asking for. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reshape the American workplace. We shouldn't squander it. To my colleagues who would say we should not proceed on paid leave until we can do so in a bipartisan manner, I say that the American people cannot afford to wait for us to have the same conversation for another year that leads us to the same result. Offers of a plan that is not universal and not mandatory. A voluntary plan is not what the American people want or need. They need a plan that covers all workers for all life events. There is a good bipartisan work that can be done, and I will do that. But I believe this is a moment in time if we want to have a universal plan that can cover low-wage and medium-wage workers in small states, in rural states, in states that don't have their own paid leave plan. This is that one chance in a generation. It is now in this reconciliation bill. We should not miss this chance. We should include a national paid leave plan. Now, Madam President, I rise to include one additional thought into the record, and it is to recognize the life of Abe Schumer, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's father and a lifelong New Yorker who passed away on November 24th, 2021 at the age of 98. Abe grew up in Utica, New York, and most recently resided in Queens. He was a devoted husband to Selma, a wonderful parent to Chuck, Fran, and Robert, and a loving grandparent and great-grandparent. Abe Schumer represented the values of service that he instilled in his son. He served in World War II in Burma as a radar operator in planes that flew over the Himalaya Mountains. As a child of the Depression, Abe knew what it meant to work hard and deal with financial struggles. When he returned to Brooklyn, New York, he took over a small exterminating business from his father in order to support his mother and younger brothers, and then his own wife and 3 children. As Senator Schumer has said, Abe, quote, personified the greatest generation, end of quote. We are thankful for Abe's devotion to his country and his family. Learning about Abe's background in life, it is clear where my friend and colleague Chuck got his devotion to family, his commitment to service, and his work ethic. I send my deepest condolences to his wife of 72 years, Selma, and his entire family. May his memory be a blessing. With that, Madam President, I yield to my colleague from Pennsylvania.
I want to thank my colleague from New York both for her remarks about paid leave and the compelling case that she made,